clouds, and I actually saw it spell two different words. It spelled SOS at first. There was three clouds, now it's just one. Then it spelled ZE something, and then it morphed. I've come to see it now. It's morphing again. Let's see. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's morphing. It's actually, I think I'm pretty sure the clouds are responding to the human. I think it's responding. Everything's connected in Christ. Let's see what it morphs into. It's morphing into something here. When you were a kid, you would say, "Oh, I see a dog in the clouds," or a cat. I actually believe that there's something to the clouds. You talk about a clear sky today. I might start recording some of these clouds and see if I can send a message. It has to be related because it's all about, this whole thing's about bringing the saints home, you know. Used to watch some videos of where ozone, they'd say, "Oh, we're gonna break up the cloud, the chemtrails with orgonite." That's what it was, and used to laugh about it. But I'm thinking there's something to it. I'm not saying it's orgonite, but I think it's actually your intention. I think it's your intention or your heart. And you can actually see stories, not only in the clouds, but you can actually see stories in the woods and stuff. Like if you gaze upon this long enough, you'll see a story. You can actually see a storyline. Everything's a story. I might have to buy me a camera and record some of these cloud days and just see what it does. See if I can see a pattern. Everything's a pattern, so it has to have a pattern. If you notice how the clouds are shaped, they're all shaped that way. So that's telling you the weather forecast, for one thing. There's a plane over there spreading a chemtrail way up there. Reason I'm standing out here is just to get some sun. I stand out here for 15 minutes, get some vitamin D's. Everything telling a story, right? So you know it's a fractal hologram just by the clouds, because they all have the same shape right now. When they shift and they change over to a different style cloud, all of them change, and so it tells you what's happening with the weather. I was thinking about a new way to do code today. So if you're riding down the road, and you go to a stop sign and then you push the gas. So you leave the stop sign, you push the gas, you move, and you turn. So instead of just looking at one word, look at two at the same time. So you're two or three at the same time. So you're pushing your gas pedal. Your head is turning, looking both ways. Your steering wheel's turning, and you're moving forward. And as you're looking both ways, you forget that your foot's even there. Your foot is acting out of just reflex. It's acting on its own. It's acting on its own. And so you're aware of what's going on around you, but you forget about your foot. And the rubber's on the tires hitting the road, and it's rubbing off some rubber off your tire, and you're moving at the same time. So you can take 3 or 4 things happening at once, find a pattern, see that pattern repeating, and then you can see, like, you can actually probably decode some extraterrestrial stuff. It's easy to look at one pattern. It's easy to see the pattern in these bricks here, or whatever. It's easy to see the pattern in that fence over there. But when you take 4 things at the same time, it's harder to see a pattern. So you look at that pattern when you're turning your car, and you find 4 other patterns that happen. Like, let's say you brush your teeth, so you grab the toothbrush, your elbow's turning to cleanse your teeth. You put some, so your hand's moving back and forth to brush your teeth, right? To cleanse your teeth. So you can look at 4 different movements all at once, and you can look at 4, and you say you take about 20 different situations that are not related, and you look at those 4 movements, and you find the pattern in those 20 different situations, and then you can get a holographic view from a 4-dimensional process. In other words, you should be able to see deeper. You should be able to take that and see something really deep. Like, you can look over there and say, okay, the color red is the blood, the color green is Cain, and then over time you can see the red and the blue, the red and the green usually fight. Anytime you see red and green, it's Cain and Abel fighting. And so I guess you could just look at a storyline in the Bible and look at the storyline, and you see Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, and then take 4 different storylines in the Bible: Genesis 4, 1 Kings something, and take different stories in the Bible, map out the process that happened, look for a pattern, and you'll be able to see patterns in the storyline. In other words, when you're at work or at home or on church or whatever, the news or whatever, put the war with Putin, you can look at the storyline, know what he's going to do next. You already know what he's going to do. When he took over and became a president forever, that told you right there that he was going crazy. He thought he could handle it. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Nobody can handle it except for Jesus. And so then what did he do? He attacked a couple nations. Then he attacked Ukraine. Then what did he do? He threatened the whole world with nuclear. Then he attacked a nuclear plant. Then what did he do? He told his own citizens that you're a traitor, and he told each citizens to attack each other and to look for traitors and let the society purge out the scum of the traitors. So he's doing the same thing Hitler did, telling people to look for traitors. He's creating paranoia. He's creating his nation. And now what is he doing? He's paying fake news to do propaganda. He's doing the exact same thing a sociopath, narcissist would do. And so what are the patterns of the past of people like this? They try to, so Hitler, what did he do? He went crazy, and he was losing, and he kept pushing. He kept on and on and on. And eventually, and see what's happening now, just like Germany had the, East and West Germany had the wall. He's trying to create that wall, he's trying to be isolated. What happens when you get isolated? You go crazy. You get delusional, you get paranoid, you get sick, you're not healthy. When you isolate, you're not healthy. Now there's a difference between sanctification and being set apart and isolating. You still have to rub shoulders down here with people, but you're still separate. How can that two be at the same time? It just is. You might rub shoulders, but you're not connected to them. You might be connected through the banking system, the financial system, or the water main, the power company, and all that. But you could go to extreme like the Amish. And what is the Amish? It's a cult. The Amish is their own cult. So what happens when you go to the extreme and you isolate, and I'm not talking about separation here or sanctification, I'm talking about when you completely isolate, you go crazy. And the reason why is it's against the universe. God didn't put you down here not to witness. You're here to witness. You can set boundaries. Only reason I put up that fence and I built that thing within 4 hours. Only reason I put that fence up is so when I come out the door, I don't have to see the fighting over there. And within a few years, they quit fighting. So I can take the fence down now if I want to, because they're not out there fighting. I'll let it stay up there for a little bit longer. But I didn't want to come out the door and see them out in the front yard acting stupid all the time. Jerry Springer. But I'm not isolated. I still have access to talk to these people, but I'm separated. There's a boundary. So there's boundaries. But you see what Putin's doing. He's isolating himself. And he's isolating people within his country. And he's isolating citizens to hate each other, to get paranoid. And that's what Hitler did. And you see that. You see what happened to Hitler. Same thing's going to happen. Same thing's going to happen to Putin. Putin's destiny is already set. And you already knew it when he wanted absolute power. You already knew it. There has to be accountability in your life, your whole life. And accountability will save your life. Accountability is a good thing. And so accountability will push you higher. It will help you and keep you healthy. It will keep you on track. It will keep you in line. And anybody who hates accountability is going down. And I've seen it my whole life. I've seen it. You date a woman or you marry a woman who doesn't want to be held accountable, she ends up going more crazy. And I'm sure that's true with the women whose husband went crazy. He didn't want to be accountable. He goes more crazy. I don't think they can return. If somebody hates authority and hates accountability, that's possible that they could change. But usually what happens is they get worse and worse and worse. And you see in society, what's happening here is people who hate authority and hate accountability, they go more psychopathic. And you can see it on the news. I watched the news today. They were hunting for this guy for kidnapping and this, that, and the other. And there's always a precog. And the precog is people who hate authority and people who hate accountability. They're going to be more and more wicked because they think they can get by with it. You see what happened to Theranos, the lady in Theranos. She just kept pushing it to the limit and pushing the limit, and she finally got crashed and burned. And the people who were trying to expose her, she was trying to defame and shut down. The same thing that happened to Theranos, and if you watch the documentary of Theranos, the same thing that's happening to Putin. What happened to the Theranos leader, and these leaders, they try to shut you up, shut you down, and they try to cause division. The same thing that happened to Theranos is going to happen to Putin. And he's going to be on trial for war crimes, if not killed. And it's going to play out over the years. I don't think he'll be around. If he's 68 and the average Russian dies at 70, he won't be around much longer anyway. So I think what he's doing, if you really think about it, he knows he don't have that much longer to live. So he's trying to build the Russia that he always dreamed of when he was young, to rebuild the so-called glory. So he don't really care probably if he dies or not. But what about his citizens? What about the future? What about the Roman Empire? You can't fight the Roman Empire. The 10 toes are prophesied in the Bible, and he's fighting against Roman Empire, and he's fighting against God, because you see that Gog and Magog come and fight against Israel. And God restrains, destroys them. God believes in nations, nation states, and separate nations and separate people. He believes in that. He set it up that way. And so Russia wants to be their own people, dictator control. China wants to be their own people, dictator control. They don't want separate people's perspectives and ideas. They want proxies. North Korea is China's proxy. Russia's probably China's proxy. China probably used Russia to attack Ukraine. It's probably a proxy. And that's why the Bible talks about the East and God, the North, attacking Israel. Long story short, when Jesus ruled for 1,000 years, all the nations will have to give honor to him every year and come and give honor to him. And the nations that don't, there won't be any rain on their land. And that's why I said the rain, it's all connected. The clouds are connected. The Bible makes it clear. If the nations don't come by and come to Israel and give honor and glory to Jesus once a year, it's not going to rain on their land. Now think about that. It's connected to the clouds. So if Jesus can control the weather with his words, his mouth, his spirit, don't you think that you have the Holy Spirit, that it's all connected? It's all connected. Let's see what else is out there. Let's see if there's any more words out there. I actually saw 2 words develop in those clouds, for real. It was like that, those 3 clouds right there, they turned into words, turned into SOS, and it turned into ZE. It looked like ZEH or ZP or something. Actually turned into a word. Just like those 3 clouds, it started to morph into a word. And once it morphed into a word, then it just split up and turned into one little cloud, You can actually see a face in that one cloud right there. And the face has morphed. Morph. And that's what's happening with you. You're being morphed. You're being changed. The metamorphosis of your heart, your soul, your mind, your will, your emotions is being morphed. And so there's an object lesson of a cloud. The morphing of the cloud. And what was that extraterrestrial TV show? Wasn't his name Morph? You're not from here if you're saved. This is not your home. You're being morphed and changed. If you gaze at this long enough, it's almost like it comes right down to you. It's like the distance goes away. It's like all of a sudden it's right here. But yeah, the system that you're in is supernatural. And you know it's supernatural because the natural is going to burn up. There's going to be a new heaven and new earth. It's all supernatural. It's held together. Jesus holds it all together by the word of his power. It's all words. And so if those clouds are morphing into a message or a storyline, I wouldn't be surprised. I know it sounds crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised. It has to be a story. Everything in front of you is a story of what happened at the cross. I'm not saying be like the witches and prognosticate and try to tell the future and all that. I'm just saying There's really no, the future's already been told in the Bible. And I'm not trying to say be foolish and come up with something unless you can actually prove it. But in order to see what's happening with these clouds, you'd have to observe it for a while, over a period of time. Pay attention to what you're saying, what you're thinking, what's happening around you, and then look for a pattern. I might go buy me a ham radio and get me a little antenna and turn it on and point it towards the clouds and see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't affect it. It has to be a story. I mean, what's the whole purpose of it being there? There's no other reason for it to be there unless it's telling a story. Everything's a story. Everything's a word. Everything's a process. Everything's part of the program. That one cloud was a face. Now it's turned into another face, but a mask it went from a nice face to like a goat face. And below it is a bull. There's a bull right below it, right there. Somebody's saying BS. The stuff I'm saying, somebody's saying BS right now. That's bull. What you're talking about is bull. No, it ain't. Everything's a story. Everything's a story. Let's see if I can decode what you're thinking through these clouds, the reflection that you're thinking. It's all a story, and time doesn't exist. So if you're watching this in a later time, and it's going to be a later time because I'm not recording it live. If you're watching at a later time, the synchronicity might be off the roof. So what that cloud has morphed into looks like Godzilla with a tail. Maybe there's a Godzilla movie coming out. But there's always a storyline. There's always a precog and a postcog, and it's every day's the same, and there's nothing new. And so, let's say you do the Bible talks about coming to God as a little child, and God is really God is way above your thoughts. So don't be surprised if these clouds, when you get to heaven and you say, Lord, what's all the clouds and these shapes? And that we'd see symbols in the shapes and all, and we'd see faces and all. Don't be surprised if you say, well, I was probably sending you a message. You just didn't believe it. You didn't have enough faith or something like that. That cloud right there is a man sitting on a throne with a scepter, and he's rotating. He's rotating around like a 3D. And then underneath looks like an archangel. 3 of them facing different ways. It looks like the 4 beasts. And then there's a horse. So it's almost like I just saw the book of Revelations. There was somebody on the throne. Underneath it was the 3 angels facing different ways. And the beast. So the storyline was I saw a bull. I saw a face morph into a nice face morph into a goat. Then I saw the throne. Then I saw angels different ways. Now I saw a horse. And this one here looks like an angel with a bow and arrow. So actually the story of Revelation is playing out right here. That's what I'm seeing. There's an angel to the last cloud there. Beside that antenna was a man standing there with a bow and arrow. So that's what's happening. It's morphing into Revelation. The Bible's being played out in the clouds. I just decoded it. That's what's happening. The story of the different stories are just repeated in the clouds. Wow. and there's a dragon. It morphed into a dragon. And above it is the phoenix bird. It's right up there to the left is a dragon. The one at the top is a phoenix. It's all playing out. The storyline's playing out. You can't think outside the Bible, right? So everything that you're seeing is playing out right in the skies. There's a musical note. That is a trip. And notice, as I've been talking, the clouds have been going away. That's definitely a UFO right there. That is 100% something. Looks like a... Wow. What is that? I'm in shock. I gotta get me a new camera. That's the second time in a row I've seen some unidentified objects going across the sky right there, and it looks like a man-made thing. And notice the clouds have kind of dissipated and went away, so the story probably is resetting. And there's another set of clouds. Let's see if I can decode this storyline. It's pretty cool. I'm actually here just to get some vitamin D from the sun, but this has turned into some kind of new hobby, I think. All right, what am I seeing there? I'm seeing some creature, human or something, holding something, a plate. And then in front of them is like somebody with a helmet and a long coat. And then so in front of that person holding the plate was like a king or like some kind of Roman Catholic thing. A guard. Looked like a guard. Roman. I noticed the leaves blowing all of a sudden. And then now I see a horse in that cloud there. This head turned backwards. So I saw a guard, now I'm seeing one of those little clown faces up close to that guard that was in front. Could have been like a patriarch symbol, an image of a patriarch. I wouldn't be surprised if the story of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob wasn't playing out in the clouds. And notice that cloud faded too. So as they're moving across the sky here, they're starting to fade. It's almost like they tell a little story and then they fade away. I have to look at the word fade. And since I've been talking, all the clouds have just faded. So the orgonite that destroys the chemtrail might be you. You might be the orgonite. Your words. That guy's sitting on his throne. There's all kinds of mysteries to be solved. Who knows? Why not? Why not think outside the box? As long as the Bible is your litmus test, is your source, and you know that that is the word forever settled in heaven, why not think outside out of the norm and use the Bible as your basis? We know his story's playing out all the time. We know that. We know the whole earth is going to be filled with the glory of God. Does that include the trees? Does that include it includes everything. The whole earth is going to be filled with the glory of God, which I think it already is. I just think we just don't see it yet. I see it in the code, creation code, but I'm talking about even in the wind or the trees or the phonics or the sounds or that motorcycle that you hear in the background. So when I first started talking about getting rid of the clouds, I was talking about they use Orgonite. And as I was talking about observing the storyline, the sky cleared up. Look at that. They're all gone. This is a continuous video. I have not paused it at all. I have not cut it and added it together. All the clouds are they're gone. I was talking about being Orgonite. So what happened? Observing the storyline, it played out, and then the clouds disappeared. So we might be able to figure out how to destroy the chemtrails now. Yeah. I'll say, Books has lost his ever-living mind. What happened to Book? He's lost his mind. Have I? I'm just observing. I'm just an observer. I'm like I said in one video. I'm just a watcher. I'm decoding this thing. I do want to help people. I would like to see people grow spiritually, but at the same time, I'm just watching the whole process. I'm in the now. There's nothing new. I'm living in the now. How can I sit here not worried about what the neighbors are thinking or whatever? Because I really don't care. I'm in the now. I'm in the now.